Hey YouTube, this is Chris again with another one of Tim and Chris's how-to videos. So today I'm going to show you how to take an image like this, a photo of a car taken during the day, and transform it to something like this, looking like this photo has been taken at night. This is really fun to do, it's a really cool effect, and it's really not that hard. I'm going to show you step by step on how to create this effect. Let's get started. Alright, before we get into it, let me show you where I got this image from. I got it from Pixabay, and I'm going to put this link in the description if you want to download this and follow along with me. Also, if you want, you don't have to, but I'm going to use a lens flare, and I'm going to put this link in the description as well, and it's a free download. Also, you don't have to use this. It's just a little added something something to the image, and it looks great without it, but I like to use it. So if you want to download those, that would be great. Okay, well, let's get started here. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to delete this group so we can start from scratch. And I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to hide the bottom layer by clicking on this little icon here. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to darken this entire image pretty dark, and then we're going to lighten up some of these areas like the green here and some of the background. But first we need to darken the whole image up, and then we're going to lighten up some areas by using layer masks. So let's go ahead and darken this image up now. And we're going to go to our adjustment layers here, and we're going to click on our brightness and contrast. We're going to bump the contrast all the way up to 100%. And the brightness, it would be nice if we can bump it all the way down to make it really dark. But as you can see, we have a bit of color going on here. So we're just going to bump that up, look at our image just until it almost all goes away, and that's fine, just like that. Okay, next we're going to go to our levels, and we're going to click on our levels. We're going to go to our adjustment layer and click on levels. And all we're going to do is we're just going to move this slider to the left, just almost in the middle to really darken up the areas. Now we've got it nice and dark here, but we do have a problem. If I turn those off, you can see because it was taken during the day, it's actually leaving a blue hue on the windshield and some on the car. And of course we have some red here, and we do have some green reflection from the leaves of this shrub or tree or whatever that is. So we need to desaturate all these colors, and we're going to do that now. And how we're going to do that is we're going to click on our adjustment layer again, and we're going to go to hue and saturation. Now we need to target these areas, because if we just desaturate the whole thing, it's just going to leave us with nothing. So the way to target these areas is up here where you see master. We're going to click on that, and we're going to target the blues. Now we're going to click on this little eyedropper tool so we can target exactly where we want to target. And we're just going to click right here on the blue area. Now we're going to move our lightness slider down all the way, and you can see how it's matching up to the other side of the vehicle. And that's all we're going to do for the blues. Now we're going to target the reds here by going to from blues to reds, and with our eyedropper tool we're going to click on a red area, and this time we're going to bring the lightness down, but not all the way down, because we do want to see a little bit of that red. Just because it's nighttime doesn't mean that we can't see a little bit of it. And also it's really bright, so we're just going to bring our saturation down a little bit, just so we can barely see the color of that red. And now, like I said, we can see the reflection on the car cast by these by the foliage here. And so now we're going to target the greens. And we're just going to click on some of these greens here, and we're going to move the lightness down. And also we can see in here, we can barely see some green, so we're just going to click this plus eyedropper tool and click on the green area there, and it'll take that away as well. Okay, now that we've darkened up the whole image and it looks pretty dark, everything, we're going to lighten up some areas. we're going to lighten up some of this green area and some of the background so we can have some details still left in the picture. And the way we're going to do that is with layer masks, and we're going to do this to all three of these. So we're going to start here with hue and saturation, and we're going to click on a layer mask. Now with the foreground color to black, and I'm tapping on the X key on my keyboard to switch these around. With the foreground color to black, we're going to get a soft brush, and the flow we're going to drop down to about 50%. And what the flow does, I use the flow a lot, and basically this is how much color you're putting down. The less flow you have, the less color that you're putting down, and of course the more flow that you have, the more color you're putting down. So I'm just going to go over this right quick, over the green area here and over some of the background, just like this. And to get between here, I'm just going to reduce my brush size by tapping on the bracket keys on my keyboard, and I'm just going to go in here and just get some of that area out. Now that looks pretty good. Now we're going to go down to brightness and contrast, and we're going to add a layer mask. And again, with a flow about 50%, I'm going to increase the size of my brush with my bracket keys. And I'm just going to go over this again, and you're going to see how this lightens it up. Now we're beginning to see, some of the details again. And again, I'm going to go on the background, and we can go back if we need to and darken some of these areas up if we wanted to. Like there's some areas here I'm probably going to darken up, but you'll see. Next we're going to go to our levels, do the same thing, click on the layer mask, and again with our flow about 50%, we're just going to go over this, and it's going to brighten it up quite a bit. But we just need to get in the general area of where we want to be, and then we can go and darken things back up just a little bit at a time. Okay, so we're going for a night scene here. I'm going to darken this up, and I'm going to stay with my levels here, but I'm going to drop the flow to about 20% or so. That's fine. And I'm going to change it from the black to white by tapping the X key on my keyboard. And I'm just going to go over these areas once more, and I'm just darkening them up, just like this. And these really bright areas, I'm just going to go over it like this. I'm going to just kind of use my tool and just rub over it. And the more, with the flow, the more that you go over a certain area, the more color that you'll put down. Okay, now we want it a little bit more dark than that, so we're going to go to our brightness and do the same thing with our flow about 20%, and we're just going to darken this up just a little bit more. And actually that might be a little too dark, so we'll bring the flow down to about 15% or so. Tap the X on our keyboard, and we're just going to bring some of that back just a little bit. And that looks pretty good. I might put a little bit of color back down here by tapping the X on the keyboard and just putting a little bit of color back right in this area. I'll just darken this up a little more. Then also we can go to our hue and saturation and just darken this up a little more if we wanted to. Actually, I think that's pretty good. Let's go to our levels and just take some of this out. Make it a little darker here. And that's pretty good. And a little bit more here. There we go. And I'm just clicking and just darkening up some of these areas. Now you can see up here it's really bright red, so we're going to go to our hue and saturation, and we're just going to darken that up until we almost take it out completely. We'll leave a little bit of color in there. Okay, that looks good. I think that looks great for a background night scene. Now what we need to do is we're going to go down to our brightness and contrast, and we're going to click on our layer mask with the white foreground color. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the ground here look like it's spilling with light from the headlights. And we're going to do that now. We're going to put the flow to 100%. And we're just going to go over it. I'm sorry, we're going to tap, we need a black foreground color. And we're just going to go over it here and then also here. And we're just going to paint in front of this vehicle to make it look like there's actually light coming out of it. Okay, now we can see that there's a little bit of light down here, which is kind of behind the vehicle. So we're going to tap X on the keyboard to make the foreground white, and we're going to reduce the size of our brush just a little bit, and we're just going to take some of that out, just like that. And that looks pretty good. Now there's one detail that I want to take care of right here, and you see this shadow. You see a darker shadow right here and a lighter shadow here. I want to leave the dark shadow in, but take the light shadow out. And the way we're going to do that is with a clone stamp tool. So we need to click on the layer of our car. Actually, we'll just rename this car. And we're going to click on this layer. We're going to grab our clone stamp tool. And the size of the brush, that's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and you can see this little thing change to like a little target or something. So I'm going to go right above this shadow, and of course I'm going to have a soft brush. And when you use a soft brush, you don't need to go in just right above the line where you're trying to get at. And I'm just going to try and take out the light shadow, and I'm going to leave the dark shadow. So right below the shadow, I'm going to hold the Alt key down and click one time, and that's going to sample that area. And you can see when I hover over this, it gives me a display of what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to click and hold, and I'm just going to try and take this shadow out as nice as possible. And just go around. If you need to go back over, you can do so. And go over here. And all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to take out the lighter shadow here. And I'm going to sample right here. And I'm going to bring it up. And I'm just going to try and get rid of this area. And I'm just going to round it off with a soft brush here. And you can see here that there's a little bit of this skid mark right there. So I'm just going to sample here and just take that out. Sample right here, take out some of that, and that looks pretty good. And you'll be able to see with the shadow and without the shadow. And that just adds to this effect a lot more. So now that we have that done, and we've created our light, we're going to go back to our brightness and contrast. We're going to brighten this up in kind of a unique way here. What we're going to do is we're going to get this layer mask and put it on the levels. So hovering over the layer mask here with your mouse, you're going to hold the Alt key down on your keyboard while left clicking and dragging up to levels. And when I do that, watch what happens. It makes it so much brighter. It looks like headlight beams are coming out here, and it looks great. All right, well, we're done darkening it up, and we can always go back to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift key down, and I'm going to click on this top layer, and it's going to highlight all these layers. Then I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to tap the G key on my keyboard to group these layers. And I'm going to name this Adjustment. Adjustments, okay. Now we've taken care of the adjustments. Now we're going to take care of the lighting here. So with the adjustments layer highlighted, with the adjustments highlighted there, I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to put this layer above adjustments, just like that. And I'm going to group this layer with itself for right now by clicking Control and G. And we're now going to group this, and we're going to name this Lighting. Because now we're going to work on the lights here. So with this layer, when we choose this layer, we're going to target these lights here. And we're actually going to make some lights, and we're going to make some floodlights. There are no floodlights, but we're going to make some. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to click on our color here. And we just want a little hue of blue. Just like that. That looks good. Just a little bit of blue, and you can tell the difference here. Just a bit. And we click OK. We're going to click on our brush tool, and we're going to reduce the size of our brush using the bracket keys on our keyboard, and we're going to be just in this circle of these headlights here. And I'm going to use a flow of 100%, and I'm going to click like 2 times, 1, 2. And I'm going to do the same over here, 1, 2. And let's make a couple of floodlights. Now you can see right here how this makes an angle and a little angle here. Well, I'm going to put this circle right in the middle and right on the edge of that point. And I'm going to click twice, 1, 2. And then I'm going to do the same on this side, right in the center, and click 1, 2. And we've made floodlights. Now I'm going to make these lights just a little bit brighter by having my circle right in the middle, and I'm going to increase my brush size by clicking on the bracket key on my keyboard, and 2 times, 1, 2, well maybe just once, I'll bring it down 1. And I'm going to click here twice, 1, 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, right in the middle, 1, 2, and that looks pretty good. And we're going to leave the floodlights just as they are. Okay, now that we have our lights done, if you want, if you downloaded that effect, we're going to go ahead and put that, well actually we'll put that in a little bit. Right now we're going to work on the lighting, how it casts on the ground here. Because now we have this blue hue, we're going to make another layer, and we'll just call this lights. Now we're going to make another layer, and we're going to increase the size of our brush. And all we're going to do is we're just going to go over this area right here with a flow of about 50%. Let's see how that works. And we're just going to go from the light down here, and we're just going to paint the ground. I know it looks weird right now, but no worries. Right up to the light here. Now we're going to change this blending mode to soft light, and you can see that it makes a nice cast of the same color that's coming from the lights. All right, now with the floodlights, we do have a problem here because the floodlights are closer to the ground, and it would cast a little brighter of a shine here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another layer, and we'll just call this ground for now. And now we're going to be working on the floodlights. So we'll just rename this flood. And we're going to do the same thing with the floodlights, and we're going to leave the flow to 53% or wherever it's at. And we're just going to make a little circle here, just like this. Just like that. Maybe once more. Actually, that's a little too much. We'll just go 1 time. And make a little circle right where it's going to cast. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to change this blending mode from normal to screen, wherever screen is. And you can see how it just has that light. Now we're going to also drop the opacity of it, just so it looks like there's just a little bit more there. Now I kind of don't like this light here, and I'm just going to take a little bit of that out by clicking on my layer mask here, and with my foreground color to black, tapping the X key, with a flow of about 20% and reduce the size of my brush, I'm just going to go over this and take some of that light out. And also with the ground, because some of the ground is on there as well. And I mean, that's actually fine like that, but I just want to clean it up just a little bit. I'm also going to put a layer mask and do the same thing, just to make this a little brighter here. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, we're almost done. Now we're going to add those a little lens flare to this. So we're going to make a new layer. And on this layer, we're going to go to our brush tool. We're going to make a drop down, and if you loaded that brush up, we're going to pick this star right here. And we're going to reduce the size of our brush until it comes into view. There we go. And we're going to put this right in the center, and we're going to click about 2 times. 1, 2. Actually, we're going to increase the flow to about 60% or so and click again 1, 2. And here we're going to click 1, 2. And we're also going to come down here, reduce the size of our brush, and click 1, 2. And down here, we're going to also click again 1, 2. Now we're going to make another angle of this. So we're going to click on our brush icon here. And if you don't see the brush icon, you can go to Windows and Brush. So we're going to change this little star so it meets, so it's kind of opposite, and that looks pretty good. So we just moved that little handle from here to almost the corner of this. And we're just going to click here with our brush size reduced, and we're going to click 1, 2. That's actually a little bit too much. Let me reduce the size of the brush one more time, and 1, 2. That looks pretty good. And here we're going to click 1, 2. And down here we're going to reduce the size of our brush again, and click 1, 2. And right here we're going to click, get it in the center, 1, 2. Okay, now that looks a little, it's a little overpowering. I'm going to put my brush, I'm going to reset my brush. It looks a little overpowering here, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop the opacity first of all. So we're going to come down and drop the opacity a little bit so it's not so overbearing. We just want a hint of it. We don't want it to like stand out so bold that it takes the focus away from everything else. So we're going to go about 50% or so. Let's see. About 50%, 48% is fine. And then we're also going to put a blur on it. We're going to put a blur of a filter on there. So we're going to right click on this layer, and we're going to convert it to a smart object so we can have smart filters. So that in case we want to edit this filter later, we can. We're going to go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And with Gaussian Blur, we're going to put this up. You can see that it'll blur it out a lot or a little bit depending on which way we go. So we're going to put about 1.0 on there just to blur it out just a little bit, and we'll click OK. Now it looks pretty good as it is, and we're almost done here. But there's one more added thing that I want to do to make this vehicle really pop and give it a little bit more of a metallic look. Now, a lot of people, they'll stop right here, and it looks great right here. But let me show you a little trick to give it a more of a metallic look, and it's going to make it stand out a lot more. What we're going to do is right above lighting, we're going to click on our a new layer. It's actually going to put it in lighting, but we're going to take it out of lighting, put it right above it. And we're going to name this Touch of Red. Okay, why? Because we're going to put a touch of red on here. So to our color picker we go, and we're going to click all the way on red, and we're going to pick a nice bright red. That's about good, right about there. And if you want to copy this, it's Charlie Foxtrot 2 Charlie 2 Charlie is the code there. So then we'll click OK. And now what we're going to do is, oops, we're going to get our brush tool, okay? And all we're going to do is we're going to highlight these areas. You know, before we do that, let me go back to my adjustments layers. I'm sorry. Go back to our adjustment layer here, and under brightness and contrast, we're going to reduce the size of our brush, and we're just going to accent our highlights real quick. And we're going to have a black foreground, and we're just going to go over it. Let's have the flow to about 20%. Sorry about that. And we're just going to go over these highlights here. Oops. I'll get it. Hang on a second. And we're just going to go over these highlights. Maybe we'll increase the flow. That's not it. There you go. It's the levels. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to go to our levels and we're going to decrease this to about 50% here. And reduce the size of our brush, and we're just going to go over the areas that we want that are, being highlighted by, say, the moonlight or something. So we're just going to go over all these areas that have highlights in them. And again, I apologize, but the cool thing about Photoshop is you can always go back and redo things. And all I'm doing is I'm just going over the highlighted areas, and there's some on the spoiler here. Take care of that on the mirror. Take care of that a little bit here. And a little bit highlights here. And you can see what this effect's doing. It's bringing this out so much more, and it looks nice. There's some highlights here, a little bit here, and also in here. And so now that we've touched all those up, now we're going to go to the touch of red here. Let me just highlight a little bit more here. Really make this thing stand out. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Now we're going to go to our touch of red, and of course we're going to use a touch of red. And the way we're going to use just a touch is that we're going to drop the flow all the way down to 1%. We don't want very much color at all. And all we're going to do is just go over it lightly one time. Now I'm going to go in this area here just so I can give you an example. If I just click once, you can barely see it. But if I click and I just keep going and over the same area, then you can really see it come out. So we just want just a touch of red here. And that's all we're going to do is go to a touch of red. Let me just get this out of the way here. There we go. Okay, so now we're just going to go over just the highlighted areas one time. And it's just going to put a real light coat of red. And it's just going to give it that metallic look. And here, on the wheels, everywhere that we put highlight, we're going to paint in red. Okay, that's a bit much. We're just going to paint one time over it. Don't keep going over that area, because then it's going to lose the effect and it's going to put too much red in there. And so now you can see, just with that touch of red, how it gives it that metallic look. Okay. So now I'm going to group all these layers together. And now you can see what we've done. We went from this color, this car being taken in the daytime, to this where the car looks like it's been the picture's been taken at night. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Please like this video, please subscribe, and comment if you like. If you'd like to see other Photoshop videos, visit our website at simplehowtos.com or here on our YouTube channel. Hey, thanks for watching.